Physical. This is the latest show to come out from Apple TV, and I didn't know what to go in when I saw the trailer for this. I was like, okay, yeah, aerobics, 80s, it's Glow, right? We're doing Glow, but for aerobics. And honestly, I think out of every television program I've watched this year, and I've watched a lot, you guys know I've covered a lot of shows, I've watched a lot of stuff. Physical might be one of the most intense programs to come out this year. I went into this with no expectations. I'm like, oh, it's going to be cute. It's going to look at the 80s in this bubbly light, some good music, some cool design pieces. But what we got from Physical might be one of the most intense things I've seen in a long time. So without going too heavy into spoilers, the premise of Physical is we follow this housewife. She was part of the 60s counterculture. Her and her husband were those classic hippie types. They've kind of matured in their settings. Her husband just lost his job, and now they have to find a way to make ends meet. In order to do that, her husband is going to run for office or just some political stance in the California town they are from. And basically, she is like, we can't afford to do this because of her eating disorder. And throughout the entirety of the show and their lives, she's been taking money out of their savings account to help with her eating disorder because she can't stop it. So she's doing this in a pretty much horrific way that she has this way set up. And I'm like, this is very intense. Right from the beginning, the first two episodes of the show open up with the depictions of eating disorders in this film may be intense for some viewers. And right there, you're like, what is this going to be? And from the get-go, it is insanely scary. Just the way the intensity builds in this show and the tension rises in each moment, you're just like, whoa. I was not expecting this from the thing that's supposed to be billed as the campy 80s dance number. So on top of having this eating disorder, trying to pay for her husband's political career, even though it's not really going anywhere, she needs this escape. And Rose Byrne plays the lead. She needs this escape. And what she finds is aerobics in this new mall outlet. She finds this dance studio where she can finally feel free and be herself. And she's trying to do some career moves there while doing this thing for her husband, while contributing to her eating disorder. And just there are so many cogs in this machine that are just going off. And you're like, when is this going to take a moment to breathe and let this woman just have a second to relax? It never comes. This show, all 10 episodes are just thing after thing after thing after thing, conflict after annoyance after conflict after annoyance for this character of Sheila. She is just thrust into this world that she created for herself. She created all these problems for herself. It's do I escape? Do I help this? Do I do that? And the entire time, she doesn't get a moment to breathe, and you're just like, what is happening? Why? I thought this was supposed to be cute and fun. But no, it's a really intensely dark comedy. When I say dark comedy, it is very weird how the humor balances itself out. Because this woman, we spend a lot of time in her own head, and it's just berating the people around her is look at this fat ugly fuck and that kind of stuff. You're just like, what the hell? Is this comedy, or is this woman literally insane by the amount of work she's put into this entire career and existence around her? It's really intense. And I know I'm saying intense a lot in this video, but honestly, you're going to go into this, you're thinking it's Glow, it's cute, it's fun. This is seriously scary. Some of the stuff that this woman puts up with and does, just the fast pace and the way the music tracks as she goes from scene to scene, just doing all this crazy stuff, is frightening. It's amazingly intense what she does here. And Rose Byrne, an actress I have adored for a very long time, she is perfect in this role. Just the way she is so quietly, staying in the background for a lot of scenes, just thinking in her own head in the way that you could just see she wants to say the truth here, but she can't. She puts on the brave face, the way she lies to everybody, including herself, and then the moments that she lets it all come out. It is very cool. This is a career-making role. If it wasn't Rose Byrne, who's already had a storied career, and this was a newcomer, this would be the kind of role that would put you on the map, because you are doing just so much emoting, and it's not even intense emoting, it's just the quiet softness of this character just thinking and feeling and experiencing every moment, and it's very intense that way. Also too, something I really like about this show is just how it captures that generation of the counterculture. This is a 40-year-old woman who obviously grew up in the 60s, that era when we had the big political movements and these pushes of power, and you just see how that is kind of like transferring in the modern times over to like the California surf culture. And I love the way the surf culture is presented in this show. I'm a big fan of that atmosphere. I love the way that is presented here. Just fantastic in the way like the political parties are changing to like that Reaganomics era. I think it's fantastic to see that. This show does a great job of presenting the 80s, and I think one of the things that a lot of people just have, especially like a younger generation, like the 80s, it's like bright colors and neon and big music and all this stuff. That's there. There's also like a lot of matted colors in the 80s where it's just like browns and teals and just simplistic coloring. And the show presents that perfectly, where it's like we have our bright stuff. The aerobics, we're in bright tights and all that stuff, but like you're looking at someone's home, it's just a lot of browns and just basic coloring. And you're like, that seems very realistic to me and very appropriate. I thought that did a great job. And one of the other things I really like about this is the way the music actually plays into the story. You're not using like the big hits of the 80s. You're using like the simple one-hit wonder songs, just like those classic beats that if you're familiar with the time period, you know, but it's not going to steal attention away from the show, okay? This isn't just like big songs. It's the quiet songs from that generation that work perfectly for this show. Honestly, this is the biggest surprise of the year for me. Because I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's aerobics. It's fun. And the aerobics stuff is so intense, and you just feel like this girl needs this release. The side characters in the aerobics studio are great. I think Bunny is a fantastic character. That's another role. I'm sorry I don't remember the actress's name, but that character is really cool to see. Her husband, the actor, who I think his name is Rory Scovel, he does great. He does great as Danny, this guy who is just so in his own head and so arrogant in a way that doesn't come across as arrogant. He's just like, it's about me, this is my story, and how he just lets the world tell it for him. Like, it's perfect. This show worked on every conceivable level, and you don't get a moment of rest in it. It's just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Here's a conflict that Sheila is dealing with. It's her fault this is happening. Now she does this thing to stop that from happening, but that downfalls into this, and that rolls down a hill and gets to this thing, and now she's doing this, and then she just like goes to the aerobics, listens to some nice music, and she just breaks out of that funk for a small moment. It is surprising how intense this show is. It's insanely good, insanely creative. It's probably one of the biggest surprises I've seen in a long time when it comes to a television program, because it just does so much with what it's given, and you're like, what it's given is just do glow. But it's like, no, let's talk about a woman with an eating disorder who's lying to her husband and her friends, who is secretly trying to build up her own career behind the backs of everybody in her life in this really dark political satire, and just seeing like the way that this woman controls her life. It's Rose Byrne at her best. This is her best role ever, and she's done some great stuff. This show kicks ass and gets everything right. The music, the 80s, the counterculture, the politics, California, surfing, eating disorders, and aerobics. It hits the check marks on all of those and makes it work perfectly. Physical is surprisingly good, and I highly recommend you give it a watch, because it's going to surprise you in ways you weren't expecting. And when I say it's intense, you're not going to have a moment's rest. So, Physical, season number 1, I am going to give a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.